Uh-oh, it's taking a while. Hey, folks, Lester and Jamie here, and we want to welcome you to a Sanctuary Sunday. This is our once a week State of the Union, if you will, of both of the properties, where we can tell you all the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm thinking there's only one thing that was pretty ugly this week, and I'm a little bit embarrassed to talk about it, but I think I need to get it off my chest. And sometimes, whenever you talk about things, it makes it easier to begin to accept and move forward. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just going to wait a couple of seconds because no one from Facebook is here yet. And that normally happens. We are blessed to have found an app that lets us bring all of our pages together because there are many folks that don't. Just
Did I ruin something?
way to make a scene and draw all the attention off of
I
me
was
onto
so
you,
thirsty. I'm
Jamie.
sorry.
There's Facebook. Hey, Facebook, welcome to our Sanctuary Sunday. I was just saying that this is kind of our State of the Union address, if you will. It's our weekly sit down. We get to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I was also saying before you came in that there's really only one thing that I think was ugly this week. And I'm going to go ahead and just get it out there, get it off my chest. So you all know that last weekend was Jamie and it was our 5th year anniversary. And we celebrated. We did something for Jamie, something for me. Jamie's also a gift giver. And so I like to do actions as gifts. I'm not really a person to necessarily give a gift per se, but I like to give gifts in form of actions. Am I lying here?
No, that's
Am
true.
I lying?
Even the kids' Christmas gifts are like doable things. So yeah, that's your style.
So little did I realize that. Well, let me just back up a little bit. So you know that we have Ben, my nephew Ben, who we actually were only going to offer him summertime employment, but that summer work has extended on into the fall and getting close to the winter. And Ben is actually enjoying what he's doing here. He comes by a few times a week and he opens all of our packages. He helps us open and sort all of our packages. And he'll normally take the things that say, I'm a survivor, and he'll put them where they belong. Oatmeal with the oatmeal, feeds with the feeds. He'll take all of Jamie's stuff and hand it off to her, usually on the front
I was
porch.
like, it's usually a porch drop off.
And then stuff to Lester, he'll put in my truck so I can open it. I like to open my stuff on a video if I can. But I noticed there was something on the porch that was to I'm a survivor. And I'm like, okay, so what is this? So I opened it up and it's this amazing little candle. And it says, You are the best thing. You are the best thing I've ever found on the internet. So I thought that was really cute. You're the best thing I've ever found on the internet. Let me type that over here because you are the best thing I've ever found on the internet. So this is exactly there. You are the best thing I've ever found on the internet. And I'm like, Ben, has Jamie seen this yet? And Ben's like, no. And I'm like, okay, good. So I took it, and I'm embarrassed to say this, but I tried to re-gift this. I tried to wrap it in aluminum foil, that's just kind of my thing. I wrap all of my gifts in aluminum foil. And I was going to let Jamie know that, hey, I got you a gift. Problem is, there was the kind lady who sent this also has Jamie's email. And so she emails Jamie and says, hey, have you received this candle that I sent? I'm just worried that it may have gotten stolen from our mail drop.
Oh, it got stolen, all right, but not from the mail drop.
And Jamie's like, what kind of candle was it? And the lady goes, she describes it in great detail. She goes, it's in a black tin, and it says, you're the best thing that's ever happened or I've ever found on the internet. And all of a sudden, the is it called my ploy?
Yeah.
My ploy was discovered. And so I had to come clean and say, okay, you know what? Sorry. But I'll just go back to doing acts of service, which was the normal way of me gift giving. But no, we appreciate you guys for being so kind. That's really sweet.
It is sweet.
And we also are, you're the best thing that's ever happened to us on the internet, obviously. And so for someone to tell us that, that's a real kind thing to say.
I'm all, for the record, I'm all about the re-gifting, and like I've never been sad if someone re-gifted any of my gifts or if I've been given a re-gift. But that one was a little extreme because you have to receive the gift first to be able to then re-gift it. I think that's how it works.
And in a way, we did receive the gift, and I did re-gift it. Let me say this: if the kind lady had not said anything, you were just thinking I was the sweetest guy ever. You were just thinking I was the sweetest guy ever. Jamie's not a flower kind of person. She doesn't like flowers. And we go out and eat at least once a week. So taking her to eat is really nothing more than our regular date night anyway. I mean, in all honesty, what, you want to say something? Go ahead.
I just know that you wouldn't have stepped foot in a store that sold those. So like, that's like, I would have seen right through it regardless. I just know. They don't sell them at Tractor Supply. Okay. That's really how what it boils down to. You have holes in your story here, Morrow.
Anywho, it was a beautiful gift and we appreciate it. So thank you very much. And so fine, it wasn't from me, but it was to us.
Which is really sweet.
Which is sweet. And I haven't smelt it yet.
It smells good.
So it's not vanilla.
It's like gardenia.
I don't know
what that is.
I have no. I mean, I guess it's some kind of a plant. Gardenia.
It's a flower.
So it's a flower. Anyway, so yeah. So thank you for sending that. Thank you all for all the things that you send us. We don't ask you, and we don't want you to ever go out of your way to gift us with stuff. And this is funny. Penny, nice try, Lester. Hey, hold on a second. Lazy Lester in all caps, which means you're screaming at me. And keep digging, Lester. Keep digging. Hey, it was all in fun, but the candle was received. And we can't go by and make videos of every single gift that you bless us with. Guys, you understand how that makes us feel uncomfortable. And
I also, I feel guilty that I can't write a thank you email or card to every single person who sent something, and I feel terrible about it. I don't know what to do to solve that. Like, we used to make gifts and goodies video, but it made people feel like less because they couldn't contribute. So we stopped that. Now I have this stack that just keeps growing and growing and growing that I need to get to. And it's like I need to employ a full-time person to help me do some of these things. And then it doesn't mean the same as it would if I wrote it. And now I'm just spinning. So thank you.
Yeah,
that's the best way we can say it is thank you.
Yeah, just thank you. So we're very blessed, and for all of the things we receive, for the animals, especially, and then when y'all go by and do things for us, we appreciate that. But like we always say, please spend your money on yourself first. Make sure you and your family are taken care of, and you have all of your needs met before you gift to others. So listen, in saying, I don't really know how to segue off of that onto other news, but I wanted to share some Hurricane Harvey stuff. So Jamie and I have been together for 5 years, and you know that we met because of the horrific natural disaster in Hurricane Harvey. And a lot of that came from the videos that I was making and putting out that talked about, things that the process of rebuilding your lives after a natural disaster. And you know that last week we talked about, Jamie, there's a fly and it's all over me.
I know.
I don't know what I've done to attract flies because I've actually showered. I have a brand new, this is
many people asked if you would stand up, by the way.
Oh, well, you can't see my shorts because they're camouflaged. So I look nothing, I don't match top and bottom, but this is my top. I think that's cute.
It is cute. It's
I think
cute
that's
little
lovely.
piggy pie.
Yeah.
And it's complimentary to the chicken one. You were supposed to wear the pig, and I was wearing the chicken, and then you wore the chicken, and
I messed everything up.
You screwed it all up, babe.
Well, anyway, it's a beautiful gift. Thank you for that too. Listen, but I was talking about Hurricane Harvey, and you know that we met a young lady last week who was just in the rebuilding process from Hurricane Fiona. And we found a way to pay our blessing forward by trying to find a way to help her out of her situation. There's no way you can ever get someone out of their situation, but just sometimes. Anyway, let me stop talking and show you a video that she sent this morning. And then this here brought back just a flood of memories of my own that I'll share with you guys that I don't think I've ever shared with you guys before. So let's start her video.
Lester, hey Jamie. I just wanted to send you this video because I find it easier to speak rather than to text message. But I just wanted to let you guys know that we are 2 months out from Fiona, and we are in fact home. We have rebuilt. It took a long time, but I want to let you know that we've been so fortunate with our friends and our family and our community, and we have had clothing donated, some furniture donated, and so blessed for everybody in our lives who has helped us, and including you guys. We are still going through things, and I'm going to try not to get emotional here, but we are still parting with things, as you would know from Hurricane Harvey and having to bury everything.
So I'm going to pause it right there, and I appreciate her saying that, because when she sent that, it reminded me of long lost videos that I had that and what she was talking about is they're taking time going through things the same way we had to go through things, trying to salvage whatever you could, and everything else got buried. So let me play for you guys a video from 5 years ago, before I'm a survivor, before we ever met each other, and show you a little bit about what she's talking about. Right there. I would like to welcome you all to a little place called Plum Grove, Texas. Plum Grove has been my home my entire 40 years. I was born and raised. Now, what I would like you to notice is what's on the side of the road. And so as I drove, I'm not going to show you the entire video because it was probably 20 minutes of a drive of me going through the entire city of Plum Grove. And like I said, guys, there was not a home that was spared. But what you see out here on the road is what I'm sure you've seen in every hurricane flooded video. This is all of your home possessions. These are all of the larger possessions that you had to get out of your house because of the mold, the mildew. They were, in fact, they're ruined. They're no good. And so as I'm only going to show a short snippet over here. But the reason that I made this video back 5 years ago is just kind of to show you guys an example of what every person who was affected had to go by and do in sorting out all of the things that were at one point what made up your home. Your couch, your love seat, your entertainment center, all of your furnishings that had gotten flooded and at this point were no good. Raised here. It's the same place that my dad was born and raised, and the same place that his dad was born and raised. I mean, so that right there, these are friends of ours. These are neighbors down the road. And you can just see that when they empty out in their entire home, that's all of the things from their pantry, all of the things from their bedrooms. Think about it. Real wood was salvageable. But anything with particle board, the differences and all that.
Yeah.
So anything that was particle board and things that could not get wet had to be brought out and thrown out. Look at my sticker on my truck.
I know.
You see how long ago that was?
I was looking. I was like, hey, it's not even expired. I'm
it's before him. Right. Plum Grove is a small town. So I will like any of the small town anywhere USA. Paul's right there. Just that, guys. That is the way that Plum Grove looked as you drove up and down any street in the little town of Plum Grove, that's what you saw. And so what we had to do, what we were told to do, is take all of your possessions out into as close as you could to the road. And then FEMA, that's our Federal Emergency Management folks, we're going to send crews to help clean up and dispose of all of those things. Now, what they would do if you had, how do I say this? If you were able to, and if you had a place to bury those things, they would go by and dig through whatever could be buried, and they would actually come out with a track hoe and dig a very large hole and just bring a bulldozer and push all of those things into those holes. And so all of us who live way off the road, you know, our homes are a quarter of a mile off the main road. It wasn't feasible to carry all of our stuff down to the road and try to find a place to stack it. So they asked us to put our things into the front yard as close to an area that they could dig as possible. And so when they came out finally and dug all of our holes and buried all of our stuff, all they made sure was there was nothing that was going to be buried that was not biodegradable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, you couldn't bury electronics, you couldn't bury batteries. You know what I mean by that. But wood, things that were biodegradable, they would actually bury. And so I have a direct connection when she brought that up this morning and talked about how they're still going through stuff, throwing things out that can't be salvaged, that can't be cleaned up. And so I have it made a direct connection to me. And sometimes when we have these direct connections, that means a whole lot more. So Jamie's in here saying, like, can we move on with the live? This is like going nowhere.
I'm paying attention. I'm listening and reading comments.
Are you reading comments?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what any comments are saying. I don't have my glasses and they're going by so fast. I just
think that people have, people who have experienced other natural disasters, whether it's fire or flood or tornado, and other hurricanes and you know, just big life events like that, are talking about how traumatic it is to have to sit there and sort through your life. And you know, I'm blessed to not have had to do that on as big of a scale. The closest experience I have is Imelda and the barn. And that was enough for me. That was enough fear for me, and enough sorting and pulling out wet stuff and all the above, that I don't wish that upon anyone. And for anyone that goes through it, my heart just goes out, because I didn't lose my kids' pictures. I didn't lose, you know, things that I've held on to my entire life that meant something. This is weird. I still have one box of things from when I was a kid. And as I sit here and think about that, I don't, you know, it's an emotional attachment to things, and I realize that. But to me, every time that I look at something like that, that brings out the emotion and the memory. And for you not to have that, and for others to have to go through that, and to sit there and sort out and realize that this is it, you know, it's ruined and you don't have it anymore. I think that's a really hard thing to go through.
It was. So when I was digging up, trying to find that video, which, like I said, was 5 years ago, and I found other videos that I thought that I hadn't seen in a while, and I thought I would share them with you guys. I recorded this one video from a drone view, and so Bailey talks about, she said they're at 2 months, almost 2 months after their natural disaster, Hurricane Fiona. And so I want to show y'all how it looked here 1 month after Hurricane Harvey. And what a big, big difference. Y'all think about what you remember, what you know our place looks like now, and look at where we were 5 years ago. It's been a month now. Things are getting back to normal. The animals that survived seem to be doing really well. Patty's happy and getting her oatmeal again. Look here, we got a new partner for Meg. Looky there, Ringo. Had the hardest time losing her siblings.
Look at how tiny he was.
He was the only goat that survived. A baby Ringo. Besides the 3 that my dad took care of.
Didn't even connect.
No. As you can see, there's lots of debris. It's been buried. We've had to get a bulldozer and push all kinds of stuff into holes and bury it. So that right there is my yard of all of the things that was buried. They kind of made a big L shape across my yard. You can see
how fitting.
Jamie, now it's not the time for jokes. How fitting that they buried my stuff in an L shape. Okay.
My brother's home was destroyed.
We're going to
He
fly the
had to
drone
bulldoze his
over the
entire
entire
house.
property, and I'll show
My
you
sister's
again
house,
more.
same thing. You can
So
see a
over
trailer
here,
house
back
there in the
behind the
distance,
house.
actually something else they're going to have to salvage.
So it's hard to tell from right here, but all of this was the old barn area. And so you can still see where they left a lot of the hole uncovered because I asked them to. I says, could you leave it uncovered, because there's still things that I was going through that I knew I was going to have to throw, and have buried. They actually, they come out and they beat us to it. So we weren't quite all the way ready yet, is what I'm saying. So they actually buried so much over through here, and they left me a piece of a hole there so that I could bury the rest of it when I had time to get to it.
My nephew had insurance, though. It's already been replaced.
Now we're flying up towards Uncle
My brother's
Dan's
already got a
place.
home himself, moved in there. It's that nice double wide. The patch of ground there shows where his old house is buried.
So I pause it over here. So if you look to what is my left and you see that big round patch of dirt there, that's actually our piece of property. That's where our animals, live and run right now. But that's where my brother's entire home was buried. His house was on blocks, and that means it's off the ground by a foot or whatever a cinder block is. And so the floodwaters pushed it across his yard and broke it in half. And so that was so they had to bury his entire home. And that was where it was buried, right there in the ground. I know everyone can't see the sun, and on this particular angle was bad. As it comes back around, I'll show you where my sister Tina's house is buried.
Floodwaters have gone down. We still have a little bit of debris and trash we got to pick up here and there. That'll happen over time. But for the most part, the animals are doing well. The grass is nice and green.
You ever saw
There's
this
plenty
video?
to eat.
I think one time.
We're blessed. Very blessed. A lot of folks are wondering if, after stuff like this happens, if people pack up and move. You take whatever resources you can. You make sure this never happens to you again. You find higher ground. But my family's been here for the last 150 years. This land's been passed down from father to son. So you don't leave. You can't leave. It's in your blood. This is Plum Grove, Texas. There's nowhere else on earth I'd rather be.
And so in this picture right over here to the far left, you can see the dirt patch. That's the pasture where Billy lives right now, Billy and Granny and their baby, along with Sister Kim's goats. And that is my sister Tina's entire house. She also had her house built on cinder blocks, and so she lost the entire thing. And so those are some pretty massive holes. Think about how deep they had to dig those holes in order to bury an entire house. And so this is going to sound dumb, but it's true. Do you know that when your home, you only move things out of your home, but your home is still salvageable, was a whole lot more work than,
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, because when your home is completely destroyed, you don't go inside of it. It's not safe to be inside. Everything is unstable. The flooring and the roofing is all just everywhere. And so you just leave everything where it's at. You don't really walk in and get anything because nothing's any good. So they had really pretty much from the day that they come home and saw their home was destroyed, the FEMA sent people around to every property, and they would do an assessment and write everything up of what they needed. And so to them, it was a real simple total loss.
Yeah.
Total loss. And so they just sent the bulldozer out to bury the entire thing. They had to avoid, obviously they would avoid septic lines, they would avoid power lines, they would avoid, water lines and all that. But Plum Grove back in those days was a very different place. But so Bailey, when I saw your message this morning, it brought back a flood of memories. Someone over here in the comments said, I don't want to watch this. This is very depressing. And so you don't have to watch, obviously, but to me, I almost felt the emotions welling up inside of me
I did.
until one thing happened. I saw my dad's guineas run across the
I
ground.
was wondering if you were gonna call it out or not because I saw it too.
Listen, I don't want to. I'm going to show y'all again. I felt,
No, it was guineas or goats.
and no, it's
A lot of
guineas.
folks are
All the
wondering
goats are dead.
after stuff like this happens if people pack up
So
and
if
move.
you watch right
You know,
about
take whatever
over
resources.
here, I'm coming up behind mom and dad's house. Mom and dad's house was fine. They did get 4 feet of water in their home, but their home survived. And so it had to be cleaned out. But what I want to show you is over here, do you see the pine tree?
It's kind of out in the middle by itself.
By itself. You see where they buried some stuff. You see the hole where they buried stuff by something. There's something big and white. And there's a hole where they buried stuff. You can see it down towards the bottom of the screen. But if you keep watching that area, I don't know why, but I am so drawn to these gosh darn guineas. And I felt at this moment, I felt some things welling up inside of me.
Until you saw
And then I saw these guineas running across the yard, and I'm like, Mother, I almost cursed, Jamie. I almost cursed. I'll watch the guineas.
You make
I
sure
can't
it's never
zoom
to
in.
see you again. You find higher ground.
There they go.
They
Well,
do.
my family's
Right
been
along
here for the
around
last
there.
150 years. This land's been
Sheesh.
passed down from.
Guineas are survivors, apparently.
Guineas, yeah, well, they can fly. They can fly into the trees. And so while everything else is going, guineas are alive and well and just watching all of this unfold, wondering what they're going to be able to get into when it's all over, when the water recedes. But
So there's a lot of people asking where I was during this. I had not met Lester yet during this time. We didn't meet until, so that Hurricane Harvey was the end of August, and we didn't meet in person until November. And I think we had been talking for a month and a half or so at that point in time. Not so, I didn't exist as far as this world goes.
yeah. So Jamie and I met through some of these videos. I want to talk about what Mary brought up. This is not part of my talking points today, but it's a great question. So let me back up one more time this video, and I want to show you something.
So you don't leave.
Okay, right there. Mary says, where is the new development compared to your property? Okay, so Mary, I know you can't see my mouse, but what you can see in the horizon are trees, and lots of them. So my home is right there almost in the center of the screen. That's my little place over there with the picket fence.
It's directly below the W in the Wii video.
Yes, but now all of those trees where it says Wii video, all those trees are gone now.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that is a
Part of the development.
Oh, yes, it's just a small part of the development. And that was a Hurricane Harvey is what opened the door for those developers to say, hey, we can buy up this land right now because it's all been flooded. The property values of flood land drops tremendously. So these developers swooped in and they bought thousands and thousands and thousands of wooded acreage. And so all of those trees are gone now, unfortunately. But that right there is where there is the new development. What are you going to say, Jamie?
You can't leave. It's in your blood.
They didn't know our story, and they asked
Plum
if
Grove, Texas.
would we have met if Hurricane Harvey.
There's nowhere else on earth I'd rather be.
No. So all of those trees right there, Mary, are the ones that are no longer there. Those and you can see as far as the eye can see, and from this perspective, that it just goes. Those trees went for miles and miles and miles of just woodland, and those are all gone now.
Yeah.
You can get on in your vehicle and you can drive down these roads that just
For miles and
they
miles.
never end. They never end. And there's homes and well, we've already talked about that. Let's not make this video about that. It wasn't about that in the first place.
No.
It was just mostly the connection that I share with Bailey and the fact that what they're going through now brought back a lot of the memories of what we went through back in those days. Woo. Okay. So what's up with you, Jamie? Go ahead and talk a little bit.
Moly, I'm just here listening, and I've watched so much change in the short time that I've been around, and I know that much of it would not have happened because of her if Hurricane Harvey didn't happen. And I think that goes for many disasters in in the country and in people's lives that I think there's a phrase that says not all storms come to destroy, and sometimes it's just to clear your path for, you know, things in the future. And as much destruction as it did, I mean, it changed my life, and I wasn't even hit by Hurricane Harvey. So I mean, I don't know. It's really hard to segue into like something after that to talk about anything else.
Oh, well, I didn't. I should have said just to the end. You're saying,
Yeah.
So what I'm reading over here while Jane was talking, someone asked, did we bury the animals? And we weren't able to bury them. What we had to do was consume them with fire. We had to build. We had to build mounds. We just had a very large mound of all that we had lost, and we had to. What's the word when you
Cremate?
We cremated all the animals, and there was a combination of horses and cows and lots of goats, lots and lots of goats. Obviously, just donkeys, and it was a horrific. And of course, me being the guy that I am, I videoed and I photographed all of those things. That's stuff that I won't show here because that would for sure get us in hot water with a lot of people. But yeah, all of that stuff, guys, was the aftermath of going through a natural disaster. And like Jamie said a while ago, this is not. I mean, this may be my story, but a lot of you guys here, I was reading, have been through, like Jamie said, tornadoes, blizzards, earthquakes, and fires, and you're listing all of the things that have been just as devastating. And so that's a part of your story. And those things that have happened to you, they have shaped you. They can sometimes leave you in a better place in some ways, but I think that they leave us all in a really bad place in other ways. It was a traumatic situation when you go through that, and it's hard to overcome it, especially when your mind can't grasp the enormity of what just happened. And so in our situation, one day everything is fine, everything is great, everything is going well. And then a week later, everything is gone. And it's like it was snatched from you. And so I don't want to focus on that. I always say that I'm blessed that my children are safe, because people lose their lives. A lot of people, lose their lives in things like that. And so my kids were safe and my parents were safe. My siblings were all safe. Yes. Did they lose their homes? Yes. Did they have a really hard time getting everything back on their feet? Absolutely. Did it change a lot of the family dynamics around here and around, I'm sure, all families? Yes. I don't want to say did it ruin friendships, because in my situation, it opened my eyes to the difference between a friend and an acquaintance. And I've talked about that before, that I spent the last 15 years of my life hanging out, doing all the things that friends do, just to find out that when I had nothing to offer, all of a sudden, those that I'd been calling friends for all of these years were nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. I couldn't, yeah. And so I realized right then that, wow, talk about betrayal. I think that's kind of a form of betrayal, because you confided in these guys. You
shared your time with them. You gave them the greatest gift. And I always say that it's your time. And when you find that you all of a sudden see it from a different perspective, and you're like, wait a minute, I've been doing all of these things and they actually have never. And then it's a harsh, kind of reality to come to terms with.
I like what Chris says. Chris is sweet. But even though I'm not trying to boast or brag, it really has changed me for the better, though, Jamie. I've often said that folks who knew me before Hurricane Harvey would have saw a very different guy. They would have saw a guy that was walking around like on top of the world, a guy that was teacher of the year for my school district, a guy that had won district championships with my football team. And, you sit there and you think about all the things that you've accomplished and done. And then, what the Bible says about pride cometh before the fall. Have you ever heard about that?
Only out of your mouth.
I'm going to type it in here. Pride cometh before the fall. I may have typed that in wrong because it's put something. Oh, Jamie, where's it at? Pride cometh before the fall. I know that God did not send Hurricane Harvey to teach Lester a lesson. That's not why God sent Hurricane Harvey and created the worst natural disaster the U.S. has ever undergone to teach me a lesson. But I think that a lot of people in natural disasters, or even in real life, from day-to-day life, when they lose someone they're close to, when they find themselves medically, sick, and they find themselves very vulnerable, and it does change you. So maybe Hurricane Harvey and all that happened changed me and opened my eyes to become a better person, just a better human. Because I'll tell you this, and I've said this before a few times, that after Hurricane Harvey, I became the best teacher that I ever was in all of the years before, because I was the teacher that finally had a little bit of empathy for these kids, realizing that even though I had undergone a natural disaster and that I was undergoing what I would call my rock bottom, a lot of these kids in your classroom were all going through their own versions of rock bottom. And it may not have been Hurricane Harvey necessarily, but it forms of abuse. So many kids are just hungry. They're neglected. They're suffering at home, and from, and so many things that these kids go through. And so no longer was I the guy that come to class and say, hey, wake up, head off the get up, everyone stand up, sit up, straighten your chair. Instead I was the guy that realized that a lot of these kids in my classroom are going through bullying issues, and you just name it. And so it kind of helped me become a whole lot more empathetic to the kids. And then ultimately it introduced me to so many people here. Because like I've always said, as you look around and all of your relationships are all crumbling because everyone is at a place where, you don't have a lot to offer. And it was total strangers that came in and began to support and encourage and build me up and kind of helped me take one step forward, and each day get up and push a little bit more and a little bit more. And now, hey, here we are today. And so if it's true that we're able to do things to give back, then I am completely indebted. Is that the right word? Indebted to all of those total strangers that were more friends to me than I've ever had in real life. So anyway, we got to stop talking about all this because I am finding myself getting down. Look at my shoulders slumping. Look how I'm slowly beginning to wither away as a man. I started this. I started off nice and proud, and now look, I'm seeing a lot of comments that I want to read. I can't tell you what they're saying. Oh no,
that's a spammer.
What?
Of all the things for you to pick,
Jamie, I want to block and delete this guy.
You have to hit hide first.
Hide first.
Now you have to go up to the button.
All right. So, hey, man, if you're really a man, I want to say that you are a complete creep. And how dare you?
Of all the comments for you to click on, that's the one.
Yeah. Joseph Christian. Guys, don't. So this is for everybody who doesn't know how spamming works. Okay. That's what spammers do. They get a fake picture of it. It looks like a very distinguished gentleman.
It's always a distinguished gentleman, trust me.
Yeah, it's a very distinguished gentleman. And what he does is looks around for who he considers a prey or a target.
Isn't that kind of funny that the spammers choose to be handsome men instead of women? Doesn't that say a lot about what they know about us?
So here's what I think. They find a target of saying, hey, here is a 40 to 60-year-old woman who probably doesn't get told how pretty she is like she used to. She probably doesn't get built up at home as much as she used to. She probably is kind of going through her own self-esteem issues of, I used to be young and now I'm getting older. That's the way I feel about myself. I used to be this. And so if someone comes by and starts building you up, and so all of a sudden, whoever he was trying to target right there, he's trying to say to her, hey, I've seen you a few times on here, and you have a great smile, and I can just see you have this great personality. Why don't you?
So they're hoping that their subject is vulnerable enough to not realize that they said the same comment on 40 other posts.
And what's so dumb is anyone who, if you receive one of those, if you just keep scrolling down, you'll see that the same hacker or spammer who's probably in some shop somewhere who does this for a living, it's not that guy. He's copied that guy's photo and he's saying the exact same thing to every woman down the page. They probably have a quota. I bet you their boss says that you have to go out there and do this to 500 people a day. And so they find a page like ours who caters to mostly between the ages of 30 and 60 or whatever the age group is. And they're like, we're going to hit this page hard today. Let's hit this page. And so guys, don't ever believe stuff like that. Please don't ever believe anything like that. And you're saying, well, you met Jamie.
I'm only laughing because I think you said something similar to my pictures or comment or something. And at some point, I'm laughing a little bit because you might have pulled out never mind.
Yeah, you might. Let's just get off that subject real fast.
Okay.
All right. So State of the Union. We've talked about Hurricane Harvey for long enough. Let's go to the State of the Union. How's everything going around here?
Things are good.
What's happening in the life of Jamie? Work, home?
I was gone and missed Timeout Tuesday, which apparently lasted for 3.5 hours. I will be here for this Timeout Tuesday, so I'll be back. The other stuff that's going on is the sun is finally out today, which feels like it's been 2 weeks since that happened. It's a little extreme. It's not been 2 weeks, but cold, nasty weather is not wanted always here.
Jamie has an entire story to talk about with this one over here about your boss and the ostrich egg. You want to save that for Timeout Tuesday?
I'm going to save that for Timeout Tuesday.
All right. I will just say that Jamie, I almost went from zero to hero with that gift. I'm not saying that Jamie is a zero in her boss's eyes, but I will say that, and I'm not going to ruin her Timeout Tuesday, but Jamie with that egg found herself at the center of attention.
Which was also not the goal, by the way. It was not the goal.
Excuse me.
But yeah, we'll talk about it on Timeout Tuesday.
Let me hide that. And so what's going on with Jamie as far as her Longhorn Lester and I'm a Survivor Garden?
Man, why are we making this all about Jamie right now?
I feel like I rambled the first 30 minutes of this about Lester and the hurricane.
Well, we survived 2 frosts so far, and both gardens did. I am still having significant peacock issues here. I did go to the porch before we started this live and saw that someone sent me some reflective banner stuff. So hopefully Lester will have time to help me set that up and keep them out, because I can't believe I'm about to say this, but the dang peacocks are eating my onions. Why? Why do they have to eat they've eaten everything else green, and now they're like, oh, what about this? Let's try this too. So my onions have like a buzz cut across the bottom, and I just can't they find it? I mean, we feed them a lot. There's literally ryegrass growing everywhere. I don't understand why they can't stay out of the garden. They are my nemesis. Peacocks to me are guineas to Lester.
That's a sweet compliment right there from Denise. Another lady, Wendy. I have no idea when they target me. I'm streetwise. I'm used to men photos.
She's been getting
but
women's
lately,
photos.
I've been getting women's photos. Are they trying to tell me something? She giggles at the end of it.
Is that your LOL giggle?
Well, today it changes. So, Wendy, I don't know why they choose to target you. I'm afraid that if you ever invite or allow one into your friends list, then all of a sudden they begin to.
They know.
They know.
They know you can.
And so you probably didn't even realize it. You probably thought it was someone that seemed legit. He has a couple of nice looking photos, so I'll let him in. And then they grow. My dad got into all kinds of trouble when he first started social media. He's an older gentleman, And my dad didn't realize all of the dangers of this of spam and all the ways that people go about hacking and stuff. So
I just realized something
Tell me.
based on what someone said.
yeah.
Do you think that Jason at Cog Hill was like, Jamie's growing a garden, Jamie's going to have fruit trees, and now we're going to compete? And do you think he was like, take these peacocks, these beautiful peacocks, as gifts of and grow and by the way, they're going to eat all your garden?
So you think that Jason was trying to sabotage us with those peacocks? I don't know. So here's my question, though. I think that their peacocks run free as well, don't they? And so do they also eat at Jason's garden? And if so, I haven't seen any videos of that where the peacocks are driving them crazy and they want them peacocks out of there.
No, I don't know. I'm going to have to go pay more attention, because now I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know either.
But they are beautiful, and we are just teasing. We're really blessed that they are male and female, which is crazy that random selection happened. And Jack has the most beautiful feathers that are turning colors around his neck, but are also now he's growing his tail. And I can't wait to see how he's going to fluff up in the spring.
I think if you put the reflective tape, the streamers like you talked about, and maybe some of those things that spin around and around and around. What do you call those?
Yeah, somebody sent some of those.
Wind things.
Yeah, I have a whole stuff on the porch that you're going to have to help me with.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I would agree with this person who says that only accept people in your friends that you actually know.
That's true.
And I would agree with that too. If you actually know them, those are the only people who you need in your friends list.
Hey, you remember that show we watched about that football player who like dated somebody online for 2 years? And
yes. Come on, guys. Who's this football player? Who was the football player? He was from Hawaii.
He went to Notre Dame.
He went to Notre Dame, and he was catfished, which means for 2 years he had an ongoing, what he thought was an online relationship. Tao. Come on, what's his name? Someone.
Teo?
Monte Teo.
Yeah, somebody said it. So if you never, I didn't know anything about this in real life. Lester apparently knew about it when it was really happening. But this guy dated this woman for 2 years online, never FaceTimed, even though that was capable, never met in person, had spoken to her family members, which turned out to be her acting as her family members.
Yeah.
And it ended up being a transgender man.
But it was a former classmate.
Yeah.
Who was a guy who found him to be attractive. The male obviously was going through some other things with his identity and wanted to become a woman, and at that point reached out as a woman using fake pictures to this football player, ended up convincing him that she was this beautiful girl who lives so and so. And so they had a thing for 2 years, just simply online, never met. And then looking back, all of his friends, all of his family were saying, how weird that you've never met her. Yeah. And all you had to go on are all of her pictures on Facebook. But guys, anybody can copy and create any picture on Facebook. So what happened was this catfisher, they call them, she went by and found a really gorgeous girl and just copied all of her pictures and built her very own page using all of those pictures. And it would, every time that the real girl would go out somewhere and go into town, then she'd copy the picture, put it on her page and say, last night had a blast, wish you were here, to her boyfriend. And so, that went on for 2 years before he finally realized that he had been set up.
That's just, I only bring that up to say of how extreme and how far things can go, and accepting people that you know is really important, because everything in our lives is connected now on our phones or computers, and credit cards, banking information, all this other stuff. And true hackers, true people that do this for a living, scammers, can get into all of that in your life, and it's very dangerous. And just have your guard up and keep it to people that you know, because it can ruin many things.
Yeah, that's true. All right, well, guys, Jamie, if you're done, are you done?
I'm done. Actually, I was hoping to do it in daylight to hopefully get some of that stuff up with you. So I'm gonna put you to work.
We have jobs to do. It was a pleasure hanging out with you all. Thank y'all for loving it and accepting us, allowing us into your homes and into your phones. Did I get it right?
You did.
That's Jamie's thing, and I've kind of just taken it over.
No one is shocked.
No one is shocked.
Keep Bailey and her family and many others who have gone through so many things and are still going through so many things. One thing I always say is we never know what other people are going through and trying to overcome. So just be kind. And that's been a message of ours for a really long time. And it's just a reminder to just be kind.
All right, we'll end it on that. Thank you, guys.
Bye, y'all. Have a blessed day.